Welcome, my friends. What if I told you that the man who founded Hyundai, one of the world's largest car manufacturers, once toiled in muddy fields without shoes, never attended college, and was so impoverished he couldn't afford a train ticket? So he ran 120 kilometers on foot just to pursue a dream. This isn't a motivational speech. This isn't fiction. This is real. Today, you'll hear the tale of a boy who possessed nothing and built everything. A boy who lacked money, education, and power, but held one crucial thing that transformed his life: an unwavering decision to never cease trying. But why should you listen to this story? Because it's not merely about business. This narrative will instruct you on how to persevere when life strikes hard, how to maintain belief when no one else believes in you, and how to stand alone when the world closes its doors. And yes, this story will also enhance your English. How? Because you won't just be observing English, you'll be feeling it, inhabiting a story. That's the secret to fluency. Not grammar books or tedious vocabulary lists, but authentic stories imbued with genuine emotion, conveyed in accessible, clear, and impactful English. So listen attentively, because this video might not only teach you English, it might also alter your life. Now, let's commence the story of the man who initiated it all. Part 1. The boy who had nothing. Let's turn back the clock. The year is 1915. We're in a small, impoverished village in North Korea. Yes, before Korea's division, a boy named Chung. Jo-young is born into a farming family. They cultivate rice. They reside in a straw-roofed house. They consume simple fare, sometimes not enough. As the eldest son, he's obligated to assist in the fields daily. No shoes, no toys, no time for dreams. From the tender age of 7, he fetches water, cuts grass for cows, and aids in planting rice. His father is stern, adhering to one rule: work diligently, don't dream. A farmer's son must become a farmer. But young Chung was different. Even as a child, he yearned for more. He would gaze at the mountains and ponder, is this all there is to life? Around the age of 14, he harbored a dream. He desired to study, attend school, learn mathematics, and become a teacher. So, one day, he clandestinely departed home and walked 4 miles to enroll in a school. However, his father discovered his absence and, in a fit of rage, dragged him back to the farm. Cease dreaming, his father commanded. Dreams don't feed hungry mouths. This was the first instance, life told him, remain small. Yet, something within Chung resisted. A few years later, he attempted again. He left home with meager funds and a grand aspiration. This time, he yearned to travel to the city, Seoul, but he lacked sufficient money for a train ticket. So, what did he do? He ran, indeed, 120 kilometers on foot. No phone, no food, just the conviction that more existed beyond those rice fields. Upon reaching Seoul, he secured employment at a construction site. He toiled with bricks and cement from dawn till dusk. His hands bled, his back ached. But each night, he reassured himself, one day, I won't just construct houses. I will build something far, far grander. After months of arduous labor, he accumulated enough money to embark on a small venture with a partner. He established a minuscule rice shop. It was his initial foray into business. But one day, his partner absconded with all the money, vanishing without a trace. He lost everything. Many would have retreated to the village, but not Chung. He wiped his tears and declared, "Money can be taken, but not my fire, not my vision." He recommenced from scratch. Over the ensuing years, he undertook any job he could procure, carrying bricks, delivering salt, repairing bicycles, cleaning shoes. He observed, he listened, he learned, not from books, but from life itself. Gradually, he comprehended the intricacies of business, human psychology, and how to earn respect, not merely money. Finally, in the 1940s, Chung inaugurated a small construction enterprise. He built roads and mended bridges. Even the government began to take notice of his work. And then, World War II concluded. Korea lay in ruins, fragmented, divided, but Chung perceived opportunity. Where others saw wreckage, he envisioned future roads. Part 2. Building from Ashes, the Birth of Hyundai. We concluded Part 1 with Chung Ju-yong establishing a small construction business. However, let's not rush, because the world he was entering, Korea, in the 1940s, was not a realm brimming with hope. It was a nation recently liberated from Japanese dominion after decades of occupation. But freedom didn't feel like freedom. The country was shattered, impoverished, and devastated. No adequate roads, no potable water, no major corporations, no established system. Korea resembled a body with a heartbeat but no skeletal structure. Yet, where others saw emptiness, Chung Ju-yong perceived possibility. He believed that if the country was broken, then we must rebuild it. We, the people, must become the builders. Step 1. The Modern Vision in 1946. At approximately 31 years old, he officially launched his company. He christened it Hyundai, which signifies modern in Korean. Consider that a man who grew up barefoot in rice fields, without formal education, initiated a company named Modern. He didn't merely aspire to construct roads, he sought to build the future. Initially, Hyundai was simply a modest construction firm. They erected roads, bridges, and repaired buildings, mostly minor undertakings, but his mindset was consistently distinct. Most people would declare, "We're too small to undertake large projects." But Chung countered, "We are small because we never take big projects." He began bidding for more substantial jobs. He embraced risks. He employed individuals more intelligent than himself, and he scrutinized everything meticulously. He didn't confine himself to an office. He personally visited construction sites. He conversed with workers. He inspected every stone, every brick. He believed that if you construct something, it must be robust enough to bear the future. The Korean War. Opportunity in destruction. In 1950, the Korean War commenced. North versus South. Brother against brother. Cities incinerated. Thousands perished. For many businesses, it marked the end. But for Chung Ju-yong, it was the genesis of something monumental. He didn't flee. He didn't shutter Hyundai. He surveyed the destruction and mused, "The country will require roads again. The country will require buildings again, and I will be the one to construct them." He began collaborating with the South Korean government, aiding in the reconstruction of vital infrastructure. His workers weren't just laborers, they were rebuilding their own homeland. This fortified Hyundai, not merely as a company, but as a name. People started to repose trust in the name Hyundai, because when everyone else was gripped by fear, Hyundai pressed onward. One of the most celebrated and impactful moments in Jung's life occurred in the 1960s when the South Korean government presented him with a formidable challenge. We need a bridge constructed over the Han River. Can you accomplish it? Now, here's the truth. Hyundai had never before built a bridge. Other companies scoffed. They remarked, "He doesn't even possess an engineering degree. He's not a bridge builder. He's merely a construction man." But Chung retorted, "If we keep saying we can't, we'll never learn how to do it." So he accepted the project. He assembled a team, hired engineers, meticulously studied every blueprint, visited bridges worldwide, and then he commenced construction. Every day, he stood by the river, observing, planning, correcting, and after a mere 4 months, the Han River Bridge was completed. The same individuals who had ridiculed him now stood in silent awe, because a rice farmer's son had just erected one of Korea's most crucial bridges. This was more than just a bridge. It was a symbol, a message to the world. South Korea is ascending, and Hyundai is instrumental in its rise. Following the bridge's completion, Hyundai's reputation soared. The government began entrusting him with more projects. He was commissioned to build highways, dams, ports, and shipyards. But Chung remained unsatisfied, for deep down, he still remembered being a penniless boy without shoes. He desired more than just wealth. He yearned for transformation. He declared, "We cannot merely imitate the world. We must create." So he made a decision that astonished everyone. Hyundai would construct ships. People laughed again. South Korea has no expertise in shipbuilding. We don't even possess the technology. But Chung smiled and affirmed, "Then we'll learn, we'll begin, we'll try." He met with British shipbuilders and persuaded them to partner. He meticulously studied shipyards. He acquired land in Ulsan, South Korea, a fishing village, and proclaimed, "This place will become the nucleus of Korea's industrial future." People considered him insane, but by 1974, Hyundai had launched its inaugural major ship and ascended to become one of the world's leading shipbuilders. From mud to metal, from rice fields to global factories, Chung was no longer merely building a company. He was constructing a dream factory. By the close of the 1970s, Chung had built roads, bridges, buildings, ports, and ships. But one crucial element remained missing: cars. South Korea imported all its automobiles from Japan and the West. But Chung posed a daring question. Why can't Korea manufacture its own car? No one had an answer, so he undertook the task himself. And that's where the subsequent chapter of this story commences. Part 3. The man who dared to build a car. Jung, the boy who once traversed 120 kilometers barefoot, had now engineered Korea's first highways, shipyards, and ports. He was admired, trusted, and respected. Yet, he remained unsatisfied because, deep within, he recalled something. He remembered how Korea historically imported cars from Japan, America, and Europe, and how people firmly believed that Koreans could never construct an automobile, that vehicle manufacturing was exclusively for affluent nations with formidable machinery and advanced technology. But Chung, as always, harbored a different conviction. He believed in his people. He declared, "We've built roads. Now we must build the wheels that will traverse them." His team was stunned. "Cars, we lack the expertise. We lack engineers. We lack the tools." But Chung simply responded, "Then we will learn. We will build the tools. We will train the engineers. That's what Hyundai signifies, and this is the future. This was not a mere business decision. This was a national decision. He aspired to build a car for Korea, and that's where the narrative truly unfolds. In the early 1970s, Chung recognized that car manufacturing necessitated something he didn't yet possess: experience. So what did he do? He journeyed to Britain. He met with George Turnbull, a distinguished engineer who had worked at British Leyland, a reputable British car manufacturer. Turnbull was surprised. Why would a Korean businessman with no automotive company wish to employ him? But Chung didn't supplicate. He didn't flatter. He simply articulated his vision. He stated, "I don't want to merely replicate foreign cars. I want to build something novel. I want your assistance." George Turnbull was impressed. He consented, and he wasn't alone. Chung hired 5 preeminent British automotive engineers, all specialists in engines, transmissions, design, and safety. He brought them to Korea. These engineers arrived in a country where many roads were still unpaved. They were astonished. They wondered, how will we construct a car here? But Chung provided them with one element that altered everything: belief. He asserted, "You've built cars before, but now you are building history." They lacked a sophisticated laboratory. They lacked high-end machinery. They lacked luxurious offices. What they possessed was one warehouse and a leader who refused to yield. Years of labor ensued. The team encountered hundreds of failures. Engines didn't fit. Parts fractured during testing. The body design proved too heavy. No company wished to supply them with steel. But each time something failed, Chung didn't shout or retreat. He posed one question: what did we learn? He believed failure is not the antithesis of success. It is the pathway to success. In 1975, after countless protracted nights, disagreements, experiments, and moments of despair, it happened. The Hyundai Pony was born. It was Korea's first national car, a compact, affordable, simple vehicle, not aesthetically pleasing like a Mercedes, not swift like a Ferrari, but proudly Korean. When the inaugural Hyundai Pony was unveiled in Seoul, the crowd fell silent, and then they applauded, cheered, and wept. We can do it. We are no longer insignificant. But creating the pony was merely the inception. The true battle commenced. When Hyundai endeavored to market cars outside Korea, the major global automotive companies like Toyota, Ford, GM, and Honda derided them. They scoffed, "Korean cars, please, they're toys." But Chung had encountered this before. When he built bridges, they laughed. When he built ships, they laughed. Now he was building cars, and again they laughed. But he possessed a weapon, hadn't anticipated: courage, discipline, and ceaseless improvement. He began modestly. Initially, Hyundai sold cars to countries like Ecuador, Egypt, and Chile. Then, gradually, he entered Canada. And in 1986, he made a bold, strategic move. Hyundai entered the US market. They introduced a model called the Hyundai Excel. It wasn't extravagant, but it was affordable, fuel-efficient, and easy to drive. People in America were curious, and guess what? In the very first year, Hyundai sold over 168,000 cars in the US. That set a record. The same companies that had laughed now began to fret. But success wasn't permanent. As Hyundai sold more cars, problems began to surface. Many vehicles experienced issues with engines, air conditioning, and various parts. Customers started lodging complaints. American newspapers began labeling Hyundai a low-quality brand. Sales plummeted. Respect evaporated. And once again, Chung Ruyong found himself on the precipice of disaster. His team panicked. They suggested, "Let's curtail production. Let's cease exporting." But Chung refused. He declared, "If we are not willing to improve, we do not deserve success." So he made a momentous decision. Hyundai would rebuild everything. New quality checks, superior materials, more stringent testing. He proclaimed, "Let's not compete on price. Let's compete on pride." And year after year, Hyundai improved. They didn't just manufacture cars, they manufactured better cars. By the late 1990s and early 2000s, Hyundai had undergone a complete transformation. The world gradually began to perceive Hyundai not as cheap, but as reliable, intelligent, and well-built. The same company that once couldn't even produce a single tire was now garnering international automotive accolades, JD Power Quality Awards, Design Awards, and safety recognitions. In America, people started saying, Hyundai isn't just a good car for the money, it's a good car, period. Part 4. The Empire After the Builder and the Eternal. Spirit of Chung Juong. After Chung Juong passed away in 2001 at the age of 85. The nation of South Korea didn't simply lose a businessman. They lost a father figure, a symbol of resilience. A man who had navigated through war, hunger, and failure, yet never capitulated. His funeral was attended not only by CEOs, but also by workers, farmers, engineers, politicians, shopkeepers, mechanics, ordinary people. Some brought flowers, others brought letters. Many brought nothing but tears, for they knew that without this man, their country might have taken a profoundly different trajectory. The initial months following his death were fraught with tension. Within the Hyundai Group, the empire he had constructed had expanded immensely, encompassing construction, automobiles, electronics, steel, banking, and even shipping. And now its leader was gone. People questioned who would lead. Would Hyundai endure? Would it fragment? In truth, Hyundai was already undergoing changes even before his passing. The Korean government had introduced new regulations to curtail the power of large, family business conglomerates known as chaebols. Hyundai, being one of the largest, was required to restructure. So, after Jung's death, his sons and executives made a bold decision. Hyundai would splinter into multiple companies, each with its distinct leadership and focus. This was painful, but it was also essential. Why? Because Jung's dream wasn't about one man controlling everything. His dream was growth, innovation, and freedom. Thus, Hyundai diversified into numerous entities, including Hyundai Motor Company, automobiles, Hyundai Engineering and Construction Infrastructure, Hyundai Heavy Industries, shipbuilding, Hyundai Steel Materials, Hyundai Mobis car parts, and Hyundai Rotem trains and military equipment. And gradually, each of these companies began to stand independently. They honored the founder, not by merely imitating him, but by perpetuating his spirit. Among all the companies within the Hyundai family, the motor company bore the deepest emotional significance. It was the automobile that instilled in South Koreans a belief in their own capabilities. So, after Jung's passing, Hyundai Motors embarked on a monumental transformation. The world still remembered the older image. Hyundai cars were inexpensive, but of low quality. But now, the company aspired to undertake something audacious. They didn't merely wish to survive in the international market. They desired to lead it. So, they invested heavily in design, attracting top designers from Germany and the US. They invested in technology, developing hybrid, electric, and hydrogen-powered vehicles. They prioritized safety, achieving top ratings in crash tests. They revamped their branding, transforming Hyundai from cheap and basic to smart and modern. They established research centers in South Korea, the US, Germany, and India. They created luxury brands like Genesis to contend with Lexus, BMW, and Mercedes-Benz. They engaged in Formula One racing technology partnerships, demonstrating that their cars were not just reliable, they were high-performance machines. And by the mid-2010s, Hyundai was no longer a subject of jest in the automotive world. It was a giant. Today, Hyundai sells cars in over 200 countries. It ranks among the top 3 car manufacturers globally when combined with its partner company, Kia. And none of it would have materialized without the courage of one man. After his death, universities worldwide began to study his life. Business schools educated students about his leadership style. Leadership experts authored books on how he assumed responsibility during crises, led from the front, embraced seemingly impossible risks, trusted effort more than talent, and most importantly, never forgot his humble origins. Let's not overlook this. This man possessed no college degree. He had no investors. He had no background in engineering. He constructed roads without studying civil engineering. He built ships without shipbuilding experience. He manufactured cars without being an automotive expert. He even visited North Korea and endeavored to reunite divided families without being a politician. Why? Because he believed in human potential. And today, his story is recounted in classrooms, not as a business saga, but as a testament to vision, grit, sacrifice, and humanity. Here are the ultimate messages people gleaned from his life. You do not require permission to dream. Chung didn't await the world's approval to succeed. He pursued trains, knocked on doors, failed repeatedly, and kept moving forward. His life asserts, don't wait, begin. Failures are not the end, they are training. He lost everything more than once. He endured betrayal, mockery, and rejection, but every failure became a new instrument. His lesson: if you fear failure, you fear growth. Assist others in rising as you rise. He didn't merely accumulate wealth. He created jobs, provided people with reasons to remain in their hometowns, supported education, contributed to schools, and aided in community rebuilding. His message: real success isn't about how high you ascend. It's about how many people you uplift with you. The most potent tool isn't money, it's character. When people trusted Chung, they didn't do so because he was wealthy. They did so because he was honest. He honored his commitments. He paid his workers. He confronted his mistakes. Even when Hyundai struggled in America, he didn't conceal it. He declared, "Let us improve. Let us do better." And they did. Today, countless individuals drive Hyundai cars without knowing the story. They depress the accelerator, play music, and gaze out the window, unaware that this unassuming automobile symbolizes one man's indomitable will. But some of us remember We remember a boy born in an impoverished village in North Korea who was admonished not to dream, who couldn't afford a train ticket, who traversed mountains barefoot, pursuing a future no one else could envision. We remember how he failed, recovered, and failed again, how he constructed roads, ships, cars, and dreams, how he didn't just transform a country. He transformed what people believed was possible. So, what is the true legacy of Chung Ju-jong? It's not just Hyundai. It's not just factories, or bridges, or awards. His legacy is this truth. Even if you are born with nothing, if you keep moving, if you keep building, one day the world will drive on your roads, sail in your ships, and believe in your story. That is the story of the boy who created Hyundai, and it is a story that must never be forgotten. Let this be more than a video. Let this be a message. If you have a dream, fight for it. If you encounter a setback, rise again. And if the world tells you that you can't, remember this name, Chung Ju-jong, and respond to the world with his celebrated words, "Have you tried?" And now, before we conclude this story, let's examine what Hyundai has become today. The company that began with nothing, not even enough money for a train ticket, is now one of the largest corporations globally. Today, Hyundai's worth exceeds $50 billion. Its vehicles operate in more than 200 countries. Its factories provide employment to over 250,000 individuals worldwide, and Hyundai has constructed some of the most expensive and advanced ships in the world, including colossal container ships, high-tech oil tankers, military vessels, and its luxury car brand, Genesis. It now competes with Mercedes-Benz, BMW, and Lexus, and garners international accolades. All of this began with a boy who had no shoes. This isn't merely the story of a man. This is the story of what is possible. So, if life is challenging right now, if you feel poor, isolated, or insignificant, if people declare you're not intelligent enough, not wealthy enough, not strong enough, then remember this story and remember this name, Chung Ju-jong, because if he could do it, why not you? And if you desire more stories like this, stories that inspire you, stories that teach you English, stories that rekindle your self-belief, then subscribe to our channel now. Because we don't just narrate stories, we equip you with the courage to write your own.